First contact and invasion. In the year 2085, humanity had achieved what many once thought impossible. The solar system was no longer a distant frontier, but a bustling network of colonies and research stations. Mars hosted thriving cities beneath its rusty domes, while the moons of Jupiter and Saturn served as refueling depots for ships venturing into the outer reaches of the system. Earth itself had undergone a renaissance, with clean energy and advanced robotics ushering in an era of unprecedented prosperity and scientific advancement. At the heart of this golden age was the Terran Space Exploration Agency, TSEA, headquartered in the sprawling metropolis of New Singapore. Dr. Amelia Chen, TSEA's lead xenobiologist, stood before a holographic display of the Milky Way, her dark eyes fixed on a blinking red dot near the galactic core. "There it is again," she murmured, more to herself than to her colleague, Dr. Rashid Amari, who hovered nearby. "The same signal, right on schedule." Rashid nodded, his brow furrowed in concentration. "It's definitely artificial. No natural phenomenon could produce such a consistent pattern across that distance." For months, TSEA's deep space arrays had been picking up an unusual signal emanating from a star system some 25,000 light-years away. The discovery had been kept under wraps, shared only with a select group of scientists and government officials. Now, as the signal's regularity became undeniable, humanity faced a pivotal moment in its history. Within weeks, the news broke worldwide. Humanity was not alone in the universe. The response was a mixture of excitement, fear, and cautious optimism. Religious leaders debated the implications for their faiths, while governments scrambled to present a united front in the face of potential extraterrestrial contact. TSEA, in conjunction with other space agencies around the world, began preparing Earth's first interstellar mission. The ship, christened the Emissary, was a marvel of human engineering. Powered by antimatter engines and equipped with experimental faster-than-light technology, it represented the pinnacle of human achievement. As the Emissary prepared for launch, Dr. Chen found herself selected as part of the crew. Her expertise in xenobiology made her an invaluable asset for first contact scenarios. Standing on the launch pad, she gazed up at the sleek vessel that would carry her and her fellow explorers into the unknown. "Nervous?" asked Captain Marcus Rivera, the mission commander, as he approached. Amelia smiled, her excitement palpable. Terrified, but in the best possible way. The launch was flawless, and within days, the Emissary had left the solar system behind. The experimental FTL drive engaged, and the stars blurred into streaks of light. Months passed in the blink of an eye for the crew, kept in stasis for the majority of the journey. When they finally emerged in the target system, they were greeted by a sight that took their breath away. A massive space station orbited a blue-green world, its architecture unlike anything humans had ever conceived. Sleek, organic shapes flowed seamlessly into sharp, crystalline structures, creating a harmonious blend of nature and technology. "My God," whispered Dr. Chen as she stared at the main view screen. "It's beautiful." Captain Rivera opened a channel, broadcasting a carefully crafted message of peace and friendship in multiple formats, hoping that at least one would be decipherable to the alien civilization. For days, there was no response. The crew of the Emissary waited anxiously, monitoring the alien station for any sign of activity. Then, without warning, a beam of light engulfed their ship. Fear turned to wonder as holographic figures materialized on the bridge. The aliens called themselves the Zorthak. Towering beings of crystalline structure, they seemed to shimmer with an inner light. Their bodies were vaguely humanoid, but with multiple limbs that appeared to phase in and out of existence. Communication was difficult at first, but the Zorthak's advanced technology allowed for rapid language acquisition. They expressed curiosity about humanity, asking probing questions about Earth's history, culture, and technological capabilities. Dr. Chen found herself in her element, exchanging information with the alien scientists. The Zorthak shared glimpses of their own history, a saga spanning millions of years and countless star systems. They spoke of a galactic community, a federation of species united in pursuit of knowledge and harmony. For weeks, the exchange continued. The crew of the emissary were invited aboard the Zorthak station, marveling at technology centuries beyond their own. Plans were made for a Zorthak delegation to visit Earth to formally welcome humanity into the galactic community. As the emissary prepared for the return journey, carrying with them Zorthak representatives, an air of celebration permeated the ship. Humanity stood on the brink of a new era, one filled with the promise of unprecedented advancement and cosmic fellowship. But in the depths of the Zorthak station, hidden from human eyes, a different conversation was taking place. "The humans are more advanced than we anticipated," one Zorthak elder mused, its crystalline form pulsing with deep hues of red and purple. Another responded, its voice a harmonic resonance that humans could never hope to hear. "Yet still primitive by our standards. Their potential is concerning." "Then we are agreed," a third voice chimed in. "The assimilation must begin immediately." As the emissary began its journey back to Earth, blissfully unaware of the true intentions of their new allies, the Zorthak set their plan in motion. Across the galaxy, a vast armada of warships emerged from hidden outposts, setting course for the Sol system. The emissary's return to Earth was met with global celebration. News of the peaceful first contact spread like wildfire, and preparations for the Zorthak delegation's arrival consumed the planet's attention. In New Singapore, a grand welcome ceremony was planned, with world leaders gathering to greet the alien representatives. Dr. Chen stood on the stage beside Captain Rivera and the rest of the emissary's crew, her heart swelling with pride as she watched the Zorthak emerge from their transport. The aliens' crystalline forms sparkled in the sunlight, eliciting gasps of awe from the assembled crowd. But as the Zorthak approached the podium, something changed. The air crackled with energy, and before anyone could react, beams of searing light erupted from the aliens' bodies. Chaos erupted as the crowd scattered, screams of terror replacing cheers of welcome. "It's a trap," Captain Rivera shouted, pulling Dr. Chen to safety as the stage exploded around them. Across the globe, similar scenes unfolded. Zorthak ships appeared in the skies over major cities, their weapons raining destruction upon the unsuspecting populace. Earth's defensive systems, impressive by human standards, proved woefully inadequate against the advanced alien technology. In orbit, the fledgling Terran space fleet engaged the Zorthak armada in a desperate battle. Human ingenuity and courage were on full display as pilots pulled off daring maneuvers, but for every Zorthak ship they managed to disable, dozens more appeared to take its place. As the invasion unfolded, Dr. Chen found herself thrust into the heart of humanity's resistance. Her knowledge of Zorthak biology and technology, gained during those weeks of supposed peaceful exchange, now became Earth's most valuable asset. In a secure bunker beneath the ruins of New Singapore, she worked tirelessly alongside a team of scientists and military strategists, analyzing every scrap of data they could gather on the invaders. "Their crystal structure," she explained, pointing to a holographic model. "It's not just their bodies, it's the core of their technology. If we can disrupt it somehow." But even as they worked, reports flooded in of Zorthak ground forces advancing across every continent. The aliens moved with ruthless efficiency, their weapons capable of vaporizing entire city blocks in seconds. Yet humanity refused to go quietly. In the face of overwhelming odds, people banded together. Soldiers fought alongside civilians, using everything from advanced weaponry to improvised explosives. Hackers launched cyberattacks against Zorthak systems, buying precious time for evacuations. In the mountains and forests, resistance groups began to form, preparing for a long guerrilla war. As the first day of the invasion drew to a close, Earth was a changed world. Great cities lay in ruins, millions were dead or missing, and the remnants of humanity's leadership struggled to coordinate a global response. In the bunker, Dr. Chen stared at a world map showing the spread of Zorthak control. Captain Rivera placed a hand on her shoulder, his face grim but determined. "This isn't over," he said firmly. "We've faced extinction before, as a species. We've overcome ice ages, plagues, and our own destructive nature. We'll overcome this too." Amelia nodded, drawing strength from his words. "You're right. The Zorthak think they know us, but they've underestimated humanity. We're not just going to survive this, we're going to win." As if in response to her declaration, an alert sounded from a nearby console. A young technician called out, excitement breaking through his fatigue. "Dr. Chen, Captain, we're picking up a transmission from Lunar Base. They've managed to bring the mass driver online." A glimmer of hope sparked in the room. The mass driver, an electromagnetic launcher capable of hurling projectiles at incredible speeds, had been a controversial weapons project, mothballed years ago in favor of more peaceful pursuits. Now, it might just be the equalizer humanity needed. "Send word to all remaining military commands," Captain Rivera ordered, a fierce light in his eyes. "The counterattack begins now. We'll show these Zorthak what happens when you back humanity into a corner." As the orders went out, Dr. Chen turned back to her work with renewed vigor. The Zorthak had made a grave mistake in underestimating human resilience and ingenuity. The road ahead would be long and fraught with hardship, but for the first time since the invasion began, she allowed herself to believe that humanity might just have a fighting chance. The battle for Earth had only just begun. Human resistance and adaptation. The weeks following the initial Zorthak assault were dark times for humanity. Major cities across the globe lay in ruins, their once proud skylines reduced to twisted metal and shattered concrete. The alien invaders had established strongholds in strategic locations, using their advanced technology to create impenetrable energy shields that thwarted conventional attacks. Yet, in the face of overwhelming odds, the human spirit refused to be broken. From the ashes of defeat, a global resistance movement began to take shape. Underground bunkers, hardened against Zorthak sensors, became hubs of human ingenuity and determination. In one such bunker, deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Amelia Chen hunched over a workbench, her fingers flying across a holographic interface. Surrounding her was a team of Earth's brightest minds, scientists, engineers, and hackers who had been brought together in humanity's darkest hour. "There," she muttered, eyes gleaming with triumph. "I think I've cracked it." Captain Marcus Rivera, now serving as a liaison between the scientific community and what remained of Earth's military command, leaned in to examine her work. "You're sure about this, Amelia?" She nodded, pulling up a 3D model of a Zorthak energy weapon. Their technology is based on crystalline structures, just like their biology. We've been going about this all wrong, trying to overpower their shields when we should have been looking for resonant frequencies to disrupt them. The implications were staggering. If Dr. Chen's theory was correct, it could level the playing field against the technologically superior invaders. But theory was one thing, putting it into practice was another matter entirely. Over the next few months, resistance cells around the world worked tirelessly to implement Dr. Chen's discoveries. Salvaged Zorthak technology was carefully reverse-engineered, revealing secrets that had eluded humanity for decades. Quantum computing, previously a distant dream, became a reality as scientists unraveled the alien code. But the resistance wasn't just about technological advancements. Humanity had to adapt its very way of thinking to combat the Zorthak threat. Traditional military tactics proved ineffective against an enemy that could predict movements with terrifying accuracy. Instead, guerrilla warfare became the norm. In the dense jungles of South America, indigenous tribes taught resistance fighters the art of moving unseen through the wilderness. Their knowledge, combined with salvaged Zorthak cloaking technology, allowed human strike teams to penetrate alien defenses and wreak havoc on supply lines. In the sprawling underground networks of abandoned subway tunnels beneath New York City, hackers waged a digital war against Zorthak systems. Led by a brilliant young programmer known only as Ghost, they developed viruses that could momentarily disrupt alien communications, creating windows of opportunity for resistance attacks. Even in space, humanity refused to concede defeat. The lunar mass driver, once thought destroyed in the initial assault, had been painstakingly rebuilt in secret. Under the cover of electromagnetic interference, it launched payloads of super-dense materials at Zorthak orbital platforms, each impact like a miniature nuclear strike. As these small victories began to accumulate, the Zorthak found themselves in an unfamiliar position, on the defensive. Their initial swift conquest had slowed to a crawl, and for the first time, doubt began to creep into the alien hive mind. In a Zorthak command center hovering above the ruins of London, the invasion's architect, Supreme Commander Zarful, convened an emergency meeting of its lieutenants. How is it possible? Zarful's crystalline form pulsed with angry red hues, that these primitives continue to defy us? We have conquered 1,000 worlds, yet these humans persist like a virus we cannot purge. One of the lieutenants, its former cooler blue, offered a response. They are unpredictable, Supreme Commander. Their tactics defy logical analysis. Just when we believe we have them cornered, they find new ways to strike at us. Zarful's form shimmered, a sign of deep contemplation. Perhaps we have underestimated them. Increase the harvesting of human subjects for study. We must understand the source of their resilience if we are to crush it. Back in the Rocky Mountain bunker, Dr. Chen and her team had made another breakthrough. Analyzing data from captured Zorthak drones, they had discovered a vulnerability in the aliens' neural network. It's like a hive mind, she explained to the assembled resistance leaders, her excitement palpable. But it's not infallible. There are moments, microseconds really, where individual Zorthak units are vulnerable to external input. Captain Rivera, his face weathered by months of grueling warfare, leaned forward. Are you saying we can hack their minds, Doctor? Amelia nodded, her eyes bright with the possibilities. Potentially, yes. If we can disrupt their Groot consciousness even for a moment, it could create chaos in their ranks. The implications were staggering. Not only could this new discovery provide a tactical advantage, but it also offered insight into the nature of their enemy. The Zorthak, for all their advanced technology, were not the invincible conquerors they appeared to be. As word of this breakthrough spread through secure channels, a renewed sense of hope ignited within the resistance. Humanity had endured months of brutal occupation, but the tide was beginning to turn. In laboratories and workshops around the world, scientists and engineers worked feverishly to develop weapons based on Dr. Chen's discoveries. Sonic disruptors that could shatter Zorthak crystalline structures, EMP devices calibrated to the exact frequency of alien shield generators, and complex algorithms designed to introduce conflicting commands into the Zorthak neural network. But even as humanity's technological capabilities grew, it was the indomitable human spirit that truly turned the tide of the war. Stories of heroism and sacrifice spread through the resistance networks, inspiring others to take up arms against the invaders. In the ruins of Paris, a group of artists and historians risked their lives to preserve priceless cultural artifacts, denying the Zorthak the satisfaction of erasing human history. Their success inspired similar efforts around the world, a reminder of what humanity was fighting for. On the plains of Africa, Maasai warriors, armed with a combination of traditional spears and retrofitted Zorthak energy weapons, became the bane of alien patrols. Their intimate knowledge of the land, combined with their fierce courage, made them formidable opponents. And in orbit, the crew of the ISS Resilience, a hastily constructed space station built from the remnants of pre-war satellites, conducted daring raids on Zorthak supply ships. Their efforts not only disrupted alien logistics, but also provided the resistance with invaluable resources and intelligence. As the one-year anniversary of the invasion approached, humanity found itself in a position few would have thought possible in those early dark days. The Zorthak still held vast swaths of territory, but their grip was loosening. More importantly, The aura of invincibility that had once surrounded them had been shattered. In resistance bunkers and hidden camps around the world, humans began to whisper of not just survival, but victory. The road ahead would still be long and fraught with danger, but for the first time since the Zorthak arrived, the future held more than just despair. Dr. Chen, standing before a holographic map of Earth showing the latest battlefronts, felt a surge of pride as she surveyed the fruits of humanity's labor. Scattered across the globe were points of light representing resistance strongholds and liberated zones, each one a testament to human resilience and ingenuity. "We've come so far," she murmured, more to herself than to Captain Rivera, who stood beside her. He nodded, his expression a mixture of wariness and determination. "We have. But the real test is still to come. The Zorthak won't go down without a fight." Amelia turned to him, her eyes blazing with the fire that had sustained her through countless sleepless nights and near-impossible challenges. "Neither will we, Captain, neither will we." As if in response to her words, an alert sounded from a nearby console. A young technician called out, excitement evident in his voice. "Dr. Chen, Captain, we're picking up unusual activity in the Zorthak fleet. It looks like they're pulling back from several major cities." A hush fell over the command center as the implications sank in. Was this the beginning of a Zorthak retreat, or were the aliens regrouping for a final devastating assault? Captain Rivera's voice cut through the silence, firm and resolute. "Signal all resistance cells. This could be our chance to strike a decisive blow. It's time to take back our world." As the orders went out and the bunker erupted into a flurry of activity, Dr. Chen felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. The coming days would determine the fate of not just humanity, but of Earth itself. Whatever the Zorthak were planning, humanity would meet it head-on, with all the courage, creativity, and determination that had defined their species since the dawn of time. The final battle for Earth was about to begin. The sudden withdrawal of Zorthak forces from major urban centers around the globe was met with equal parts celebration and suspicion by the human resistance. Years of brutal conflict had taught them to be wary of apparent victories, yet the opportunity presented by this unexpected development was too significant to ignore. In the Rocky Mountain Command Center, now serving as the de facto capital of free humanity, leaders from around the world gathered to plan their next move. The chamber buzzed with a mixture of languages and accents, a testament to the global nature of the resistance. Dr. Amelia Chen stood before a holographic display of Earth, pointing out the areas of Zorthak retreat. "They've pulled back to these locations," she explained, highlighting several points across the continents. Mostly remote areas with difficult terrain, mountains, deserts, dense forests. Captain Marcus Rivera, his face bearing new scars from recent battles, leaned in to study the map. "Defensive positions," he mused. "They're consolidating their forces, but why?" A gruff voice spoke up from the back of the room. "Because they're scared." All eyes turned to General Wei Zong of the Chinese resistance, a man whose tactical genius had been instrumental in several key victories. "They're regrouping because for the first time, they fear defeat." A murmur of agreement rippled through the assembly. The recent string of human victories, while small in the grand scheme of things, had clearly rattled the Zorthak. Their aura of invincibility had been shattered, and now they were showing signs of desperation. "This is our chance," Captain Rivera declared, his voice ringing with conviction. "We've been fighting defensively for years, but now it's time to take the fight to them. A coordinated global offensive to reclaim our world." The next few days were a whirlwind of activity as the resistance prepared for what they hoped would be the final push against the alien invaders. Dr. Chen and her team worked around the clock, refining their disruptor technology and developing new weapons to counter the Zorthak's crystalline biology. One of the most promising developments was a device dubbed the resonance cannon. Based on Dr. Chen's earlier discoveries about Zorthak vulnerabilities, it emitted a focused beam of energy that could shatter the aliens' crystalline forms at a molecular level. The downside was its limited range and the massive power requirements, but if they could get close enough, it could turn the tide of any battle. As the day of the offensive approached, a somber mood fell over the resistance forces. Everyone knew the stakes. This would likely be humanity's last, best chance to reclaim their planet. Failure would mean the end of human civilization as they knew it. The night before the attack, Dr. Chen found herself unable to sleep. She wandered the corridors of the mountain base, eventually making her way to an observation deck that offered a view of the star-filled sky. To her surprise, she found Captain Rivera already there, gazing up at the heavens. "Couldn't sleep either?" she asked, moving to stand beside him. He shook his head, a wry smile on his face. "Too much on my mind. Tomorrow, we either save our species or we don't," Amelia finished for him. They stood in silence for a moment, the weight of their responsibility heavy on their shoulders. "Do you think we can win?" she asked finally, voicing the doubt that had been gnawing at her. Marcus turned to her, his eyes filled with a fierce determination. "I think we have to. Not just for us, but for every generation that came before us and everyone that might come after. We're fighting for the very soul of humanity." As dawn broke, resistance forces around the world launched their coordinated assault. The plan was audacious in its scope, simultaneous attacks on every major Zorthak stronghold, with the goal of overwhelming the alien defenses before they could mount an effective response. In orbit, what remained of Earth's space fleet, bolstered by salvaged and retrofitted Zorthak vessels, engaged the alien armada. The battle for control of Earth's orbital space was fierce, with explosions lighting up the sky like new stars being born. On the ground, human forces advanced with a combination of conventional and reverse-engineered alien weaponry. The resonance cannons proved their worth, punching holes in Zorthak defensive lines and allowing infantry to pour through. Dr. Chen found herself in the thick of the action, part of a strike team tasked with infiltrating a major Zorthak command center in the Andes Mountains. Her expertise with alien technology made her invaluable for bypassing security systems and accessing critical data. As they fought their way through the crystalline corridors of the alien base, Amelia was struck by the beauty and alienness of Zorthak architecture. Even in the midst of battle, the scientist in her couldn't help but marvel at the advanced technology surrounding them. The team's objective was the central control node, where they hoped to upload a virus that would disrupt the Zorthak hive mind across the entire region. But as they approached their goal, resistance stiffened. It became clear that the aliens were aware of their plan and were throwing everything they had at stopping them. In a desperate gambit, Captain Rivera, who was leading the strike team, made a decision. "Dr. Chen, you and Sergeant Williams continue to the control node. The rest of us will hold them off here." Amelia wanted to protest, but she knew there was no time. With a nod of acknowledgement, she and the sergeant pushed forward, the sounds of intense combat fading behind them. They reached the control node, a vast chamber dominated by a pulsating crystalline structure that seemed to breathe with an otherworldly energy. As Sergeant Williams provided cover, Dr. Chen rushed to interface her equipment with the alien technology. Just as she was about to upload the virus, a voice echoed through the chamber, not in sound, but directly in their minds. "Fascinating creatures, you humans." A form materialized before them, Supreme Commander Zarthol, its crystalline body shimmering with power. "Even in the face of certain defeat, you continue to struggle. Why?" Amelia stood her ground, her finger hovering over the button that would upload the virus. "Because it's who we are," she replied, her voice steady despite her fear. "Humanity doesn't know how to give up. It's our greatest strength and sometimes our greatest flaw." Zarthol's form pulsed, an alien expression of curiosity. "You could have been so much more. Under our guidance, your species could have achieved greatness among the stars. At the cost of our freedom? Our identity?" Amelia shook her head. "That's not a price we're willing to pay." The Zorthak commander seemed to consider her words. Perhaps we have indeed underestimated your kind." Its form began to flicker, as if it was having trouble maintaining cohesion. But 'tis too late. The cycle must continue. With those cryptic words, Zarfel launched a mental assault of overwhelming power. Amelia felt as if her very soul was being torn apart. Through sheer force of will, she managed to hit the upload button before collapsing. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The crystalline structures around them began to vibrate, then crack. Zarfel's form destabilized, its mental grip on Amelia loosening. Throughout the base, and indeed across the entire Zorthak network, confusion reigned as the carefully maintained hive mind fractured. In orbit and on battlefields around the world, human forces pressed their advantage. The once coordinated Zorthak defense fell into disarray, individual units acting without the guidance of their central intelligence. Hours turned into days as the battle raged on. Slowly but surely, humanity reclaimed its world. Zorthak's strongholds fell one by one, their advanced technology no match for human determination and ingenuity once their unified control was shattered. In the aftermath of the final battle, as the dust settled on a scarred but liberated Earth, humanity faced a new challenge: rebuilding their world and coming to terms with their place in a much larger, more complex universe. Dr. Amelia Chen, standing amidst the ruins of the Zorthak Command Center, felt a profound sense of both triumph and loss. They had won, but at a terrible cost. As she surveyed the alien technology surrounding her, a realization dawned. "We can't let this knowledge die with them," she murmured to Captain Rivera, who stood beside her, looking equally worn and contemplative. He nodded in agreement. "You're right. For better or worse, this is our legacy now. We'll take what we've learned and use it to build a better future, not just for Earth, but for humanity among the stars." As news of the victory spread across the globe, celebrations erupted in every corner of the world. But amidst the joy, there was also a sobering awareness of the challenges that lay ahead. The Earth was battered, its population decimated, its cities in ruins. The road to recovery would be long and difficult. Yet as Dr. Chen looked out at the faces of her fellow humans, tired, scared, but unbowed, she felt a surge of hope. Humanity had faced its greatest test and emerged stronger for it. They had proven to themselves and to the galaxy at large that they were a force to be reckoned with. In the years that followed, Earth underwent a renaissance. The technology salvaged from the Zorthak was carefully studied and integrated, accelerating human advancement by centuries. Cities were rebuilt, greener and more sustainable than before, and humanity, united by their shared struggle, worked together to heal the scars of war. But they did not forget the lessons of the invasion. As they ventured out into the stars, humanity carried with them a newfound wisdom. They would face the challenges of the cosmos not with fear or aggression, but with curiosity, compassion, and an unshakable determination to forge their own destiny. And somewhere out in the vast expanse of the galaxy, other civilizations took note. Humanity, the species that had defied all odds and defeated one of the most powerful forces in the universe, was on the move. The age of Earth was over. The age of humanity had just begun.